It should connect. Crazy, dude. Here on Facebook, what's up, Stacy? We're running it again, bro. Let me just post this video places. That's crazy, dude. All I'm doing is reading, bro. I'm just reading a book, dude. I'm just reading a book, dude. How weird is that? Weird. Weird. Monica Canada, what's up? This book is pretty fire, bro. I'm just saying. It's pretty gas. Pretty gas. Do you guys? I actually really enjoy reading this, bro. You know what? I appreciate you guys even just hanging out with me while I'm just reading book, dude. Scruffmeister, what's up? What's goody? What's goody? Let me see here. Is it people back up in here, bro? Oh, we got someone back up on YouTube. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. See, for some reason, if I'm being honest with you, bro, Kick never really gives me issues, bro. YouTube just quit on me, bro. Just cut out. Just cut midstream. Just turned off on me for some reason. And all we were doing is just basically talking about how real magic is, bro. Herein is the complete explanatory theory of progenies and miracles. How, as a fact, could good and bad alike compel nature to reveal her hidden forces? How could there be divine and diabolical miracles? How could they reprobate and berate spirit have more power in certain ways and cease than the just spirit, which is in truth so powerful in simplicity and wisdom? Oh, Sammy, sweetheart. Sammy's in the house. What's up? What's up? What's up? Let me just pop the chat out over here. Because for some reason, this shit's acting weird, bro. It was weird, bro. That was weird, bro. Why did it do that, dude? I don't like that, dude. Just busted me up, dude. Just busted me up, dude. Let me just take this real quick. Sorry. Forgive me. Here's a link to Kick. If you want to head to Kick, that's where Kick was at. Dang. It was pretty insane, bro. The existence and possible employment of this force constitute the great secret of practical magic. It is the wand. Oh, we already read that one. Pharaoh's magicians accomplished at first the same miracles as Moses. Well, Pharaoh's magicians accomplished at first the same miracles as Moses. The instrument which they used was therefore the same. The inspiration alone differed. When they confessed themselves conquered, they proclaimed that for them human powers had reached their limit and that there must be something superhuman in Moses. This took place in Egypt, that mother of magical initiations, the land where it was all occult science, heretics, and sacred instructions. It was, however, more difficult to make flies appear than frogs. Weird. He's talking about begonia. No, absurdly, but the magicians knew that the fluidic projection by which the eyes are biologized cannot proceed beyond certain bounds, and these had been passed already by Moses. A particular phenomenon occurs when the brain is congested and overcharged by astral light. Sight is turned inward instead of outward. Night falls on the external and real world, while fantastic brilliance shines on the world of dreams. Even the physical eyes experience a slight quivering and turn up inside the lids. The soul then perceives by means of images and reflection of the impressions and thoughts. This This is to say the analogy subsisting between idea and form attracts the astral light, a reflection representing that form configuration being the essence of the vital light. It is the universal imagination of which each of us appropriates a lesser and greater part according to the grade of our sensibility and memory. Basically, what I just took right there was basically saying that if you look on the inside, based on your ability of sensory and memory, it is the universal imagination. We're all connected. It's all one thing. We all pull from the same place. The appropriation or assimilation of the light by clairvoyant sensibility is one of the greatest phenomenon which can be studied by science. It may be understood that in a day to come that seeing is actually speaking, and that the consciousness of light is the twilight of eternal life in being. The word God himself who creates light is uttered by all intelligence that conceives of forms and seeks to visualize them. Let there be light. Light in the mode of brightness exists for only eyes which look thereon. And the soul enamored with the pageant and universal beauty and fixing its attention on the luminous script of the endless book which is called Things Manifest, seems to cry on its own part as God at dawn on the first day, the sublime and creative worlds. Fiat lux. What do not all see with the same eyes, and creation is not for all the same in color and form. Our brain is a book imprinted with and within and without, and with the smallest degree of excitement, the writing becomes blurred, as occurs continually in cases of an intoxication and madness. Dream then triumphs over real life and plunges reason into a sleep which knows no waking. What are you guys gathering from this? I feel like this is like a philosophical way to explain divine light and the pure evil. Regardless whether you are actually like vibrating with like Jesus and Satan and God, it still seems compelling to me the way that that's being explained about us being filled with divine light. And that we are able to tap into this divine light, let there be light type stuff at any given time. I do agree with like the vibration that it was talking about. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. This condition of hallucination has its degrees. All passions are intoxications. All enthusiasms are comparative and graduated manias. The lover sees only infinite perfections encompassing that objects by which he is fascinated. But unhappy infatuation or voluptuaries, tomorrow this odor of wine which allures him will become a repugnant reminiscence, causing 1,000 loathings and 1,000 disgusts. Sheesh. To understand this use of this force, but never be obsessed and never overcome thereby, is to trample on the serpent's head. Well, if the mother of Mary trampled on the mother Mary, the divine mother, she trampled on the serpent's head. And to understand this force and never be obsessed with it and never be overcome with it is to trample on the serpent's head, as what it says. And it is this which we learn from the magic of light. In such secrets are contained all mysteries of magnetism, which name can indeed be applied to the whole practical part of antique transcendental magic. Magnetism is the wand of miracles. By it is this for initiates only, for rash and uninstructed people who would sport with it or make it subserve their passions. It is as dangerous as that consuming glory which, according to the allegorical fable, destroyed the too ambitious Semele in the embraces of Jupiter. I like that a lot, where it says magnetism is the wand of miracles. Because if we really think about it, we talk about like raising our vibration and the manifesting, which like attracts things to us, turns us into a magnet to attract the things that we want or desire or are grateful for. I really like how it talked about like never be obsessed or overcome with your abilities or your understanding of this force. One of the great benefits of magnetism is that it demonstrates by incontestable facts that spirituality, unity, and immortality of the soul, and these things once made certain. Let me read that again. What? One of the greatest benefits of magnetism is that it demonstrates by uncontestable facts the spirituality, unity, and immortality of the soul. And these things once made certain, God is manifested to all intelligences and all hearts. Thereafter, from the belief in God and from the harmonies of creation, we are led to the great religious harmony, which does not exist outside the miraculous and lawful hierarchy of the Catholic Church, for this alone has preserved all traditions of science and faith. I call bullshit. Whatever. I don't believe in traditional religion. If you do, that's okay, but I don't. The primal tradition of the one and only revelation has been preserved under the name of Kabbalah. They're practicing magic, bro. The shit's real, bro. Where have you heard Kabbalah from? Oh, yeah, it's like Jewish mysticism by the priesthood of Israel. Kabbalistic doctrine, which is that of transcendental magic, is contained in the Sefer Yetzer, the Sefer Yetzirah, the Zohar, and the Talmud. According to this doctrine, the absolute is being, and therein is the word, which expresses the reason of being and of life. The principle, therefore, is that being is being. In the beginning, the word was, which means that it is, has been, and shall be. And this is reason which speaks. What's up, Julia? Reason which it speaks. In the beginning was the word, and the words were the reason of belief, and therein also an expression of the faith which gives life to science. The word, or logos, is the wellspring of logic. Jesus is the incarnate word. The concord of reason with faith, of science with belief, of authority with liberty, has become in these modern days the real enigma of the Sphinx. Coincidentally, with this great problem, there has come forward that which concerns the respective rights of man and woman. This was inevitable, for between the several terms of a great and supreme question, there is a consistent analogy, and the difficulties, like the correspondences. Whoa! Where have you seen the Jew star? I mean, the seal of Solomon. Wait a second. You see this iron cross right here? Isn't that a Nazi symbol? What the fuck? Irrevocably the same. The loosening of this Gordian knot of philosophy in modern politics is rendered apparently paradoxical, because in the order to effect an agreement between the terms of the required equation, there is always a tendency to confuse the one with the other. If there is anything that deserves to be called supreme absurdity, it is to inquire how faith becomes a reason a belief, and liberty an authority, and reciprocally how the woman becomes a man and the man becomes a woman. The definitions themselves intervene against such confusion, and it is by maintaining a perfect distinction between the terms, and so only, that we can bring them into agreement. The perfect and eternal distinction between the two primal terms of the creative syllogism for the demonstration of their harmony in virtue of the analogy of opposites is the second great principle of that occult philosophy veiled under the name of the Kabbalah, and indicated by all sacred hieroglyphics of the old sanctuaries, as by the rites even now understood so little of ancient and modern masonry. This book is crazy, bro. Can we get fire in the chat, bro? This book is crazy, bro. We got Freemasons. We got Jesus in here. It's talking about the Kabbalah. We read in the scripture that Solomon erected 2 brazen columns before the door of his temple, one of them being called Jochin and the other one Boaz, meaning the strong and the weak. These two pillars represented man and woman, reason and faith, power and liberty, Cain and Abel, right and duty. They were pillars of intellectual and moral world, the monumental hieroglyphic of the anatomy inevitable to the grand law of creation. Real quick. Solomon's towers, right? Jochin and Boaz, bro. Jochin and Boaz. You're likely meaning Jochin and Boaz, the two named bronze pillars at the entrance of Solomon's temple. Put a pin in that. The pillars, two pillars, Solomon's pillars. Please find me the cover page for the 1611 King James Version of the Bible. Wait, you mean these two fucking pillars? These two pillars, which is supposedly in the Bible is Moses and Aaron, but then they got the Rosicrucian phoenix down here. They've got all sorts of symbolism. They got the Rosicrucian roses across the top up over here, bro. So how in the fuck does the Holy Bible written in 1611 have and represent the fucking tower, the towers Jochin and Boaz from the Solomon's temple, bro? It's all masonry, bro. It's all masonry. The meaning is that every force postulates a resistance on which it can work. Every light a shadow as its foil. Every convex a concave. Every influx a receptacle. Every reign a kingdom. Every sovereign a people. Every workman a first matter. Every conqueror something to overcome. Affirmation rests on negotiation. The strong can only triumph because of weakness. The aristocracy. I can't say that word. Aristocrat. The cannot be manifested except by rising above the people. For the weak to become strong, for the people to acquire an aristocratic position, it is a question of transformation of progress, but it is without prejudice to the same principles. The weak will ever be weak, and it matters nothing if they are not always the same persons. The people in like manner will ever remain the people. The mass which is ruled is not capable of ruling. In the vast army of inferiors, every personal emancipation is an automatic desertion, which happily is imperceptible because it's replaced. Also automatically a king nation or a people of kings would propose the slavery of the world and anarchy in a single city outside of discipline, as at Rome in the days of the greatest story. A nation of sovereigns would be inevitably as anarchic as a class of experts or of scholars who deemed that they were masters. There would be none to listen. All would dogmatize and give orders at once. The radical emancipation of womanhood falls within the same category. If, integrally and radically, the woman leaves the passive and enters the active condition, she abdicates her sex and becomes a man, or rather such a transformation is impossible physically. She attains affirmation by a double negotiation, placing herself outside of both sexes like a sterile or monstrous androgyny. These are strict consequences of the great Kabbalist dogma respecting the distinction of contraries, which reaches harmony by the analogy of their proportions. This dogma, once recognized by the application of its results being made universally by the law of analogies, will mean a discovery of the greatest secrets concerning maternal sympathy and antipathy. It will mean also a discovery of the science of government in all things political, in marriage, in all branches of occult medicine, whether magnetism, homeopathy, or moral influence. Moreover, it is as intended to explain the law of equilibrium in analogy, leads to the discovery of a universal agent, which was the great secret of alchemists and magicians in the Middle Ages. Everybody picking up what I'm laying down? Who's here? We got a squad up in here, bro. Yeah, I'll drop this link. This is where I found it at, bro. mindunveiled.com. Okay. Not, I guess. mindunveiled.com, bro. Right. Let me just close out of this real quick. Right at the top. See it? Mind Unveiled. mindunveiled.com. I'm on page 65. Let me just show you. Bro, it's got a whole bunch of books, bro. A whole bunch of books. Some from 1606, 1529. It's got stuff about Kabbalah. It's got the like fucking the secret doctrine of Israel, the Kabbalah unveiled. It's got stuff, books about the ancient world, like the Golden Ass, the history of Japan. It's got alchemy books, the Kabbalion, Sender Solis, the Mirror of Alchemy, the Hermetic and Alchemical Writings of Paracelsus, Natural Magic, written in 1696 or 1669. It's got a whole ton of books, bro. Miraculium Mundi, 1653. The Mysteries of Romance and Alchemy and Pharmacy, written in 1897. But yeah, where's the history of magic? The Great Wick. The Great Wick. Oh. 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 The religion of the Kabbalists is at once hypothesis and certitude, for it proceeds from known to unknown by the help of analogy. They recognize religion as a need of humanity, as an evident and necessary fact, and it is this alone which for them is divine, permanent, and universal revelation. They dispute about nothing which is, but they provide the reason for everything. So also their doctrine, by distinguishing clearly the line of demarcation which must exist forever between science and faith, provides a basis for faith at in the highest reason, guaranteeing its incontestable and permanent duration. After this come the popular forms of doctrine, which alone can vary and alone destroy one another. The Kabbalist is not only undisturbed by trivialities of this kind, but can provide on the spot reason for the most astonishing formula. It follows that his prayer can be joined to that of humanity at large, to direct by illustrations from science and reason and draw into the orthodox channels. If Mary be mentioned, he will revere the realization in her of all that is divine in the dreams of innocence, all that is adorable in the sacred enthusiasm of every maternal heart. It is not he who will refuse flowers to adorn the altars, the mother of God, or white banners for her chapels, or even tears for her ingenuous legends. It is not he who will mock the newborn God weeping in a manger, or the wounded victim of Calvary. He repeats nonetheless from the bottom of his heart, like the sages of Israel and the faithful believers of Islam, there is no God but God. For the initiates of true science, this signifies there is but one being, and this is being. But all that is expedient and touching in beliefs, but the slander rituals of pageant of divine creations, the grace of prayers, and the magic of heavenly hopes, are not these the radiance of moral life in all its youth and beauty? Could anything alienate the true initiate from public prayers and temples? Could anything raise his disgust and indignation against religious forms of all kinds? It would be the manifest unbelief of priests or people want to dignify in ceremonies of cultus. In a word, the profanation of holy things. God is truly present when he is worshipped by reconciled souls and feeling hearts. He is absent sensibly and terribly when discussed without light or zeal. That is to say, without understanding or love. The adequate conception of God, according to instructed Kabbalism, is that which was revealed by St. Paul. Wait a second, bro. St. Paul is the one that Jesus prophesied would betray him and become a false idol. Weird. He's a Kabbalist. When he said that to attain God, we must believe that he recompenses those who seek him out. So is there nothing outside the idea of being in combination with the idea of goodness and justice? These alone are absolute. To say there is no God or to define what he is constitutes equal blasphemy. Every definition of God, haphazard by human intelligence, is the recipe of religious empirism. Empirism. I don't know what that word means. Empiricism, out of which superstition will subsequently extract a devil. In Kabbalistic symbolism, the representation of God is always by a duplicated image, one erect and the other reversed, as above, so below, like Baphomet, bro. One white and the other black. In such manner did the sages seek to express the intelligent and vulgar conceptions of the same idea, that the light of God and that of the God of light and the God of shadow. To the miscomprehension of this symbol must be referred the Persian Ahriman, that black but divine ancestor of all demons. The dream of the infernal king is but a false notion of God. I'm gonna send you a video later, Scruffmeister, from someone who talks about Jesus prophesying that Paul will, not necessarily saying Paul, but he talks about somebody, because realistically, a lot of people, there's a large group of people that believe that modern Christianity is actually just Paulism, because he is the one who influenced the writing of the Bible, and that he's like one of the most revered saints. I'm pretty positive on that one. But he completely changed and turned Jesus's actual message into propaganda for the Roman Catholic Church, which then took over and just decided that they were going to start killing people who didn't want to convert. Weird. But yeah, I'll send it to you later, okay? Light in the absence of shadow would be invisible for our eyes, since it would produce an overpowering brilliance equal to the great darkness. In the analogies of this physical truth, understood and considered adequately, a solution will be found for one of the most terrible of problems, the origin of evil. But to grasp it fully together with all its consequences is not meant for the multitude, who must not penetrate so readily into the secrets of universal harmony. It is only after the initiate of the Eleusinian mysteries had passed victoriously through all the test. Real quick, let's just get a real quick reference for all of you guys. Can you please explain to me what the Eleusinian mysteries are?
Sure. The Eleusinian mysteries were secret annual initiation rites held for almost 2,000 years in ancient Greece at the sanctuary of Eleusis. They centered on the myth of Demeter, the goddess of agriculture, and her daughter Persephone, who was abducted by Hades, the king of the underworld. The rites symbolized Persephone's descent, Demeter's search, and their eventual reunion, which reflected themes of loss, search, and rebirth. Initiates underwent purification rituals, fasting, sacrifice of a piglet, and drank a ritual beverage called kykeon. The experience was believed to offer personal salvation and hope of a reward in the afterlife, symbolizing the eternal cycle of life and death. The details of the ceremony.
Crazy. It was only after the initiate of the Eleusinian mysteries had passed victoriously through all the tests and had seen and touched the holy things that if he were judged strong enough to withstand the last and most dreadful secret, a veiled priest passed him a flying pace and uttered in his ear the enigmatic words, Osiris is a black god. So was Osiris, of whom Typhoon is the oracle, and so was the divine religious sun of Egypt, eclipsed suddenly, becoming the shadow of that grand, indefiable Isis, who is all that has been and shall be, whose eternal veil has no one lifted. Light is the active principle of Kabbalists, while darkness is the analogous to the passive principle, for which reason they regarded the sun and moon as emblems of two divine sexes and the two creative forces. Freemasonry also has the Freemasonry, you know, that has the fucking Solomon pillars, and then it's got the sun and the moon. So also attributed to the woman the first temptation and sin, and subsequently the first labor, the maternal labor of redemption. It is from the bosom of the dark itself that light is reborn. The void attracts the plenum, and thus the abyss of poverty and wretchedness, pretended evil, seemingly nothingness, and the ephemeral rebellion of creatures attracts eternally an ocean of being, wealthy, mercy, and love. This interprets the symbol of Christ descending into hell after pouring out upon the cross all immensities of the most marvelous forgiveness. Crazy, bro. We're on page 68. We're on page 68, dude. I got to use the bathroom, and then we're going to move on. Who's still here, bro? Who's still here, bro? I don't know, you guys. I'm really starting to like fucking reading these books with you guys. Like, what in the fuck was, like, I'm gonna need to probably read that back on my own to freaking really grasp it. But it sounded like I was like, I don't know. When I was hearing myself speak, I felt like I was casting spells and shit, and like fucking, I was understanding some real knowledge, bro. Like, maybe this is like fucking this type of shit you have to read when you get to the 33rd level of fucking Freemasonry and shit. Some just crazy, jam-packed, just esoteric knowledge, bro. Talking about Jesus and God and Mary, the mother, and Satan, and fuck. Crazy, bro. Crazy, do bro, broody, bro. Shit, I got a potty, boy. I'll be right back. Give me a few minutes.
Or a theory that isn't apocalyptic for modern times, but explains the massive gaps in the human story in a way that 80% of normal people would be like, yeah, that makes total sense. So far, this is the only one that makes sense to me as well. It's been proposed by the ethical skeptic with assistance from Craigstone and Juno with these cool simulations, also research papers. They're all on X if you want to research this any further, but the theory is beautiful in my opinion because it doesn't say that the earth completely flips upside down. It doesn't say ancient gods were aliens. It does not say science is lying, and it doesn't say catastrophe happens all the time. So this is the ECDO theory. It is a pole shift theory, and it is relatively new in the way that it explains it. So it's not the pole shifts and the planet turns upside down and does all this crazy stuff. It's slower and more gradual, but there is a mountain of evidence pointing to at least some sort of truth within all of this. This pole shift stuff says that if it happened, the entire planet would flood. But how does that work when water's not magnetic? It's pretty simple, actually. There's a phenomenon in 0G where things with 3 axes will do this flip when they rotate. It's also called the tennis racket theorem. So the thing flips when the wings wobble, but in the Earth, we've got these anomalous blobs in the mantle that act as wings. There's a rotational axis for the Earth. That's how you get these pictures with the pole star in the middle. Then there's the magnetic poles, which are off-center. Those are generated in the core. If they're not there, life is not possible and we are cooked. Now, if that magnetic pillar weakens, something like a strong solar emission could create a lubricated layer between the core and the mantle, the D layer. That would unlock the crust, allowing it to do whatever it wants. Now, the actual core stays locked to the sun. The mantle with those lobes flips from horizontal to vertical. Gyroscope is the easiest way to explain this. The central pole is the rotational axis pointing to the pole star. Now say we get a girthy solar flare. Inside stays the same rotationally, but the outside is free to do whatever it wants. The only problem here is that gyroscope is balanced. With the Earth, it looks more like this, where this is state 1, where we're currently at now. In state 2, we're flipped 104 degrees. It isn't a full 180 because Earth is not rigid like the wing nut. It has those weird lobes that stop it from doing the full 180 in this situation. Now here's where I'm gonna fuck you up. Variation in the rotational and magnetic poles is shown by the dynastic Egyptians in the temple at Abydos. That's our time, relatively. So the distance between our time and the pre-flood time is 104 degrees shifted. Why is that important? In the Great Pyramid, the Queen's Chamber shafts are 104 degrees apart exactly. If that was not an accident, they not only knew about the shifts, but they were able to construct a monument that could not only survive them, but possibly detect them. I would put them over 12,000 years old and make them smarter than we are. And
that's crazy, dude. That's crazy, dude. Did you know that about the 104 degrees? That's mind-blowing. How in the fuck did they know that shit? They didn't have satellites, bro. How the fuck? You know? What's up, Vines on Mars? How you doing? What's goody? What's goody? What's goody? What's good? What's good? What's good? Shout out Bruce Almighty. What's good? Good. You guys remember this guy? You guys remember this guy? Matthias De Stefano? We're going to just go ahead and just listen to this gentleman speak, and we're going to live react to the things that he's talking about. If you've made it to this portion of the stream, I just want to say I love you, bro. Thank you, bro. I got a fucking real solid team of humans out there that got my back and come hang out with me every day, bro. Fuck, I know I'm a lot, bro. I'm all over the place. I talk about all sorts of things. I'm not confined to a box. One day we could talk about and go down every single Jeffrey Epstein rabbit hole there is. One day we're talking about consciousness, and the next one's talking about energy, and then the next one's talking politics and weird Charlie Kirk exploding mic theory type stuff. You know what I mean? And so, you know, you never know. I'm like a box of chocolates. You know, you just never know which one you're going to get. You know? I love you guys because you guys never know what's going to happen every stream, because I really just try to really just be in the moment, bro. I really only prep my streams for like an hour before the stream, bro. Like an hour before I go live, I'm like cooking it. You know what I mean? I'm in here just, you know? You heard? Crazy. But let's go ahead and let Matthias talk for a second. We've got 5 people up over on Facebook. Facebook, I love you guys. Thank you for being here. If you guys could just put poop emojis in the chat just to let me know that you're here. I see you, Scruffmeister, Kate, Cleo, Richie Rose, Anna Ray, Lady Epion. We got freaking Pretty Ricky in the house, bro. Julia Brand, Becky's been up in here. We got Vines up over there. We got someone from Eastern Europe, bro. I'm going to try my best. It says Mythos Garapakas. Gaia Prakas. Eastern Europe, bro. Prestige worldwide. We're everywhere, baby. We're everywhere. We're all up in this bitch. You heard me? Poopity poo poo.
Beloved.
You guys ready for this? If you guys haven't seen this one's going to be a banger. It's going to be a banger. Let's see here. We've been live for 2 hours. I got 1 more hour in me, at least for sure. And then we'll do the freaking little, we'll do a little kick stream only at the end of the stream. So if you're not on Kick, you better head over to Kick. We'll be live on YouTube and Twitch and Facebook for an hour, and then we'll hang out on Kick for a little while. So let's just get right up in here.
The law of attraction never works as specifically as we expect. Maybe we attract things from our thoughts, but not with our actions. You need the law of 3. The positive, the negative, and the neutral. The law of 3 is the one that will guide where the energy is going to move through. What I receive, what I give, and what I intend. What I think, what I feel, and what I do. That's the trinity of coherence. When you put all that together, you start to shape a reality. Even if we have been disconnected, we are magnetical beings. We are basically all channelers all the time because we are positive and negative. Our bodies are electrical. That means that we are all the time channeling information. Today, we created a great mistake, which is that for all the world, we use the same calendar designed by a guy in Europe that just wanted to pay taxes.
Wait, did you know that? Could you kindly please just inform me where the word calendar came from?
Certainly, the word calendar traces back to the Latin calendarium, which originally meant an account book or register. This came from calende or calende, which referred to the first day of the month in the Roman calendar, when debts were due and announced.
Oh, so basically when they had to pay taxes?
Exactly, it all ties back to the Roman practice of tracking debts. The term comes from the Latin calendarium, which was like an account book. The first day of the Roman month, called calende, was when debts were recorded and payments were called in. So, yes, it originally referred to a time when obligations were announced, and over time, that evolved into our modern word calendar.
Weird.
Just to see how confused we are. December is the 12th month in our calendar, but it's literally telling us December, 10th month, October, 8th month. The names of the months are actually clues that we're doing this completely backwards. All right, everybody. So many of you know who this man is. He has been given the blessing, or potentially sometimes the curse, depending on what the situation that arises.
Depends.
That he remembers his past lives. And not only that, he has the ability to open his energy body to receive information and guidance from what he would call the network, and also from specific beings. And I've watched this man do unbelievably remarkable things. I've watched him at the Temple of Athena down in Delphi. I watched him take a pretty calm day with some scattered wispy clouds. And then he started activating at the temple. And then he started calling in deeper, darker clouds. And then he went like this, and then the clouds started dumping water on us. And then he started calling to the wind, and then pulling the wind in these swirling 50-mile-an-hour gusts as he's singing, and Vailana's singing. And it was one of the craziest scenes that I've ever seen. We actually have some of it on camera. So maybe we'll show a little bit of that when we make this into a video, because it's absolutely mind-boggling. And of course, we had one of our brothers there, Aaron Alexander, who witnessed the whole thing, which was absolutely remarkable. And he's sitting on the bus and he goes, "What do you think the odds are that was a coincidence?" We're like, "The fuck are you talking about, man?" He's like, "I know, but it's good to have a little bit of that skeptical mind." So,
Okay. If you watched Matthias with me before, you understand who he is. He remembers his past lives. He used to live in Atlantis. He has the ability to open up his energy body to allow intelligence to flow through him from a different place, different places, different entities, different things. And Aubrey Marcus, I don't know if you know who Aubrey Marcus is. That was the individual that was just speaking, who I have watched countless hours of his content and the people he talks to. He is a psychonaut like me, someone who is not a newbie when it comes to psychedelics, not a moderate either. It's someone who likes to actually astral travel and do shamanic work in other frequencies. But he just said that he watched Matthias control the weather, bro. Did you catch? You're picking up what he was laying down, right? He literally said that he watched him control the weather. Interesting.
I also want to invite anybody who's skeptical of this whole thing to also hold that too. It's important. It's important that we also hold this idea that, yeah, I see this, I believe this, but just holding that little bit of maybe, I think is healthy and it's important. And as we get to the last section of this discussion on channeling, it's very important to hold that little bit of skepticism, that little bit of maybe, because we're entering magical realms. And these magical realms are largely uncharted territory for most of us, unless you're Matthias, in which he's been charting that territory for lifetime after lifetime and remembering it. But the way we're going to start today is Matthias is going to give us an idea of the sacred calendar, which is not the Julian calendar, which just carved up the year arbitrarily into months that they named after emperors and, you know, people that they thought were cool, but the sacred calendar that moves in alignment with the whole cosmos, and how the activities of ritual, manifestation, meditation, activation, and even channeling are potentiated by adhering and at least paying attention to the sacred calendar, the lunar cycles, the solar cycles, the movements of the stars.
Does anyone else resonate with what he said is the sacred calendar? Fuck, I just got the chills, bro. The sacred calendar, like our solar system and the stars and the moon and the sun and how we tracked time for thousands of years before this calendar was created to where we could pay our taxes. Before Julius Caesar and Caesar Augustus decided that they were like in a freaking a whammer contest where they wanted to show who was bigger. Got a big dick contest. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, you know what I'm saying? I want a freaking month too. But the sacred calendar, the calendar that humans have been paying attention to for all of time, the stars. Why do you think astrology is even a thing? Why do you think we know the constellations? We've known them for a long time. Just like Base Forge on the little commercial break while I was using the bathroom. Somehow the people who built the Egyptian temple knew exactly what degrees to use. It's insane, bro.
So we're going to start with a basic understanding of the sacred calendar from Matthias's perspective.
I'll try. Well, yeah, when we talk about calendar, is something that we take for granted most of the times because we don't relate it with our specific reality and how we can manifest reality. But actually, time is the one that allows us to see matter. So the way in which we organize time is the way in which
Sorry. Going back to normal speed.
we can, of course, manifest matter. So in these days, that calendar just became a way to count days or to just say, okay, another day passed. We don't actually take the power of what it means. And actually, the word calendar, which is calendas, is a period of time to pay taxes in the Roman Empire. I don't know if you know that, but actually every time that we say calendar, we are saying, I have to pay taxes. So, yeah, Roman Empire, really? So, he did it great. So because of that, we just organized the dates according to the moon, just to know when this guy would come and knock the door and say, give me the 10%. So everyone kind of knew that when the moon was about to get full, something was about to be taken from you. So basically we organized the calendas in that way. And we're basically the Romans that shaped the idea of our calendar in order to have an organization for an empire, which was paying taxes, organizing rituals, ceremonies, and stuff. But the reason why we started actually to make something that we actually call cycles, in Atlantean language we call it the cycles of earth, the cycles of fire, the cycles of water. So when we started to organize cycles to understand what was the energy around in order to manifest something, to actually do something physical, not just to calculate moments. So our relationship with the cycles started actually when we started walking in the horizon, like around 3 million years ago, when humans left the forest in Africa and they started to walk around trying to find food after a great moment of hunger. So in that moment, a lot of humans started to get lost and had no idea where to go, where to walk to, maybe deserts. So there was only one way to actually know where you are, which was following the sun or the moon or specific stars. So they saw that some stars were fixed in the sky, so they said, every time if we follow those stars, maybe we won't get lost, even if we don't know where we are. So according to that, they understood the cycles of what time of the year these stars are positioned according to which mountain, which river, which tree. So they started to talk about the cycles of when that star moves to the top of the mountain or to the valley. So that created a cycle, a period of time in which we know where to move, where to head to, when to do something specific. And the cycles of the moon, they also show them that if you follow the moon, you can actually have a very organized time. Like you can actually organize your life. Like.
Okay. I just want to ask you, everybody who feels compelled to answer, please do in the comments. I really want to hear what you have to say. Why would he specify and start to say that paying attention to the moon will help you organize your life? The sun will help give you direction of where to go, and the moon will help you organize your life. Do you guys resonate with that distinction of what the moon and the sun are for? Does it not? Does that sound dumb to you? I really would like to hear what you think.
Everything that happened on this planet was because of the moon. So they started to understand the tides of the ocean, when the water was melting in the mountains, to have it for sowing and so on. So they were following the sun, but the moon was the one telling how life would be. The moon was telling, oh, it's a full moon, so it's a cycle of reproduction, so we can have sex now. And so everyone got crazy because men were fighting for the most fertile, feminine woman that was there. So it created for millions of years this idea that in full moon we get crazy. It was because of reproduction. And so we started to understand that if we follow the moon, we know exactly how life should be on Earth. If we follow the sun, we know exactly how to be guided in our purpose. Where are we heading to is the sun. How we head to is the moon. And the position of the stars would tell us what to do in every place or every moment. So we started to write the cycles, but there's a problem that there's no beginning, no end in these cycles. So it doesn't matter in which continent you live or in which hemisphere, and even though in which latitude. So the position of the stars is completely different. The light of the sun is completely different. The moon, different position. So that meant that for every region, there was a different calendar. And today we created a great mistake, which is that for all the world, we use the same calendar designed by a guy in Europe that just wanted to pay taxes. And
hearing him explain it like that, if I'm being honest with you, it just influences me more to learn more about moon and sun cycles, to learn more about astrology and the stars. Especially when you get down right to the point that the reason we follow the calendar we follow today is because they want our money.
That made that the entire world lost the connection with their own potential of creation. Because the way in which in the equinox the light hits the earth in the North Pole or the South Pole is completely different. So you cannot do exactly the same. You cannot celebrate the same things or manifest the same things because the light is not suitable for that. So for every latitude and every parallel, we should have a different calendar. And for every region of the planet, we should have a different calendar. And for every side of the planet, we have a different new year. So why do we have New Year's? It's basically because we are trying to understand when the cycles ends and when they begin. Actually, the beginning of either a solstice or an equinox. So we have 4 main New Years in the year, which are related to the position of our planet. And the position of our planet is actually showing the position of our mind. Because even if we have been disconnected, we are magnetical beings. And because we are magnetical, our structure of cells tend to balance to the north magnetical pole. Our blood is red because it has iron in it. So iron, like a compass, follows and organizes itself according to the magnetical North Pole. So wherever the magnetical North Pole is pointing at, our blood, our head
just went down. Is everyone good still? These streams just like rebooted. Let me make sure. We should be good. We're gravy. They keep resetting, bro. They keep resetting, bro.
And because today we have no idea where is the north, and we don't care. So everyone is doing whatever. We are all lost and disconnected from the purpose of our life because we are not aligned with the North Pole, and we don't know where are the precession of the equinoxes, which is our star right now. So because of that, we lost the power of creation. We lost the power of our own being, of our culture, our races, our territories. We've been disconnected from that. So these 4 main New Year.
1 second, okay? Just give me a second. Sorry, is it glitching anymore? I went upstairs and my son is trying to play video games upstairs and taking my internet, I think. It's better now? Okay, let's go. Let's keep going.
Years, around those New Years, all the cultures were trying to organize themselves. And for example, we started to organize the year beginning in March, in the equinox of March, but mainly because the people in Middle East did it that way. For sure, for South America, it's June. It's the solstice of June. March, we don't care. But for the people in Middle East was very important because it was the moment to start sowing, to start putting the seeds on the ground. So we needed to bless the land, the soil, with fertilizer. And the fertilizer in that moment was blood. The blood of who? Of the goat. So they put goat blood everywhere, and they said, those stars there, I'll tell.
You should just come over to Kick Vines on Mars. I just dropped the link inside the Twitch chat. I'll pin this one to the top. If you're on YouTube, if you're on Facebook, come over to Kick. I just dropped the link in the chat.
Telling us that we have to put blood on the soil for the seeds to grow better. And we call that the goat, which is Aries. So the stars are not modifying what we are. We are actually modified by our perception of where the stars are located. So it's astrology is not a star pulling our soul. Astrology is how our soul perceives the stars.
Ooh!
And
That's some fire. Can I just get some fire emotes, bro? You're right, Monica. April Fool's Day was created to steer us away from the new cycle. It's not January 1st. You're right. You're right. You are right. Because that's really when the new year should start, is on the equinox. That's how, I mean, that's really what. Let's just repeat what he said.
the stars are not modifying what we are. We are actually modified by our perception of where the stars are located. So it's astrology is not a star pulling our soul. Astrology is how our soul perceives the stars.
Woo!
And we organized the beginning with Aries just because in the Middle East it was like that. And then we started to celebrate equinox, then solstice, and then equinox, and then solstice. And when the last cycle of solstice, the last solstice before the beginning of the new cycle started, so we in Europe, they had this celebration that was the return of the sun. So the return of the sun was in the solstice of December.
I'm telling you. The solstice in December is the return of the sun. That's literally the beginning of, like, you know what I'm saying, of the cycles. Like they had, that was like the last celebration. That's what we have as Christmas today, was them celebrating the return of the sun, because the winter solstice is actually when the days are equal and the sun starts to come back. Because, you know, we have this thing where, like, it's no longer actually anymore. I don't think daylight savings is a thing anymore, but the time the sun is out is the longest in the summer. And as the sun starts to show itself less, we get more into winter. And the solstice is literally the last day when the sun starts to come back and show its face more, which that's how they knew that it was the end of the winter.
And in this December, which is the 10th month, Deka, so it's December is the 10th, is the 10th month. So in that moment, what we did was, after those days, we celebrate for 12 days. We have to celebrate that the sun has returned. So during 3 days, since the 22nd, we have 3 days where the sun is going to rise up exactly in the same moment, in the same place. And then on the 25th of December, it starts to go back. So it marks that we begin the longer days again. And so that's why we all celebrated the returning of the sun, or the birth of Christ.
When you're saying we, who are you referring to in the we?
Oh, of all the humans that were looking at the sun. and not their balls.
And just to get the subtlety of what he said, December, like just to see how confused we are.
Oh, yeah.
December is the 12th month in our calendar, but it's literally telling us December, 10th month, October, 8th month. It's the 10th
November, Nove, which
It's
is
like
9th.
Everything is off. Like even the way that we've named the things are actually confusing us the whole time. And there's clues all over the place. The names of the months are actually clues that we're doing this completely backwards.
Oh yeah.
And even the word, I don't know if you guys realize this, the word lunatic. Where does the word lunatic come from? Luna, moon, right? Like we know these things. These clues are encoded in our language, but still we just ignore it. And this is a part of empire to get us off of the sacred calendar, to take us out of our power and our potentiation, to create the right rituals, to harness our own power, to have the ability to manifest. All of these things are actually working against us in this empirical calendar because they don't care about that. They just want us to pay taxes. Honestly, it's like follow
Julius
the money.
Caesar and Augustus Caesar,
Right.
created in July and August. Which they said, I want my month.
Yeah.
And I don't want for it to be 30 days. I want to be 31 because I want to be bigger than the other one. So they just
That's
put
why we're
another
having
day.
this summit in October. Oh, you guys didn't know that? Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's October.
Yeah. So we tried.
I got to ask you, do you and can you or will you just take a second and just really think about how long empires have been trying to take away our power? They've been trying to derail us from a sacred path, from a path of our history, of how all of our historic ancestors were just obsessed with the earth, and they lived in the nature, and they were part of their environment. They were like part of earth, not separate, like as we see today. Humans as a whole behave as if we are separate from this thing that we live in. But even that one simple act of changing the calendar and forcing everybody to stop relying on the stars, the sun, and the moon was a huge attack on our souls, on the way that we're supposed to live on this planet. And it just doesn't fit right with me when it gets to the point where the word we use today to keep track, it all relates to us paying taxes. So it's always just been about the money for all the empires. They never actually gave a fuck about any of the citizens. It's just always been about money since the beginning of recorded time, before the Roman Catholic Church and everything changed on planet Earth. Just since the very beginning, when the first Bible was written, it's just from the very beginning, all they really cared about was making sure that we paid them our money. It seems really fucked up.
We try to organize everything related to every aster or with every star, and this, for example, that's why we all celebrate the new year now, not in an equinox or a solstice. We celebrate it after the Roman party. 12 days of party after the sun return is January 1st. So it was just a party that took a long way of Baco, who was drinking, fucking, dancing, that's it. So when they said, maybe we have to start working again, that's the first year. That's the first day of the year. And they call it January because it was the god Janus, which is the god of time. Had two faces, one looking backwards, the other one looking forward. So he said, the god of Janus, January, is the god that tells, okay, now we can start again. And we created a new year. But now, in the whole world, mainly, we are celebrating the New Year in a moment of the end of an orgy. So it's like, what are we doing? It's not related to anything in the skies or anything. So we celebrate something because just a Roman said that. So that's why when we lost this connection, we also started to mix cultures and traditions. And today, for example, we have this moon day, which is Monday, Tuesday, which is actually the day of Mars, which is but it's a name from the Norse tradition. Wednesday is also a name from the Norse tradition. Tuesday is Thor's Day, the day of Thor.
Yeah, Wednesday is Woden's Day, Odin's Day.
Woden's Day, Woden, yeah, Wodan, which is the father. So Friday is the day of Freya. So it's Norse. So suddenly we mixed the Viking tradition and we created the days for each one of the gods. And we today celebrate the days, and the Romans said Saturn as Saturday. So we celebrate the Saturn, and in Sunday we celebrate the sun. So we have all the pagan of Europe all together mixed and not knowing why. And each one of those days were specifically named like that because there was a purpose of celebration in a ritual to awaken a potential of each one of those gods or stars. And the way we organized it today, it was because of the Middle East, again, creating the days according to the celebration of God. So we have in every, or for example, hour comes from the word Horus. And Horus is Horus, the god of the sun in Egypt. So Horus is the one that marks where the sun is. Horus is there, Horus is there, Horus is there, Horus is there. So it's 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. So it's the same thing. So all the time is organized in a concept that is divine to tell us what to do at which moment, because the energy is suitable for you to do specifically something at that time.
Have you ever thought about it like this? Who do I still got up over in here? It's pretty insane if you really break it down like that, that every single aspect of our entire human experience right now is all based on astrological things. It's kind of weird to think about that a majority of the days of the week that we know is Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, all that stuff is either a Norse god, which is like a Viking god, or a moon, or a sun, or Saturn. Seems crazy, right? Seems crazy. It seems too coincidental. It just seems too connected, bro. You know? It's weird. I can feel the truth when he talks.
And that's why the ancient ones lived through rituals all the time. They did circles, trinities, they created patterns and put intentions in every day to download that information into us. Because now, one thing is the mind, which is the perception of today is the day of the moon, so we have to celebrate something related to the moon. But in the other hand is the moon physically moves our blood, moves the cycles of life in the feminine body mainly. It controls the gravity of our planet. It pulls all the water of the oceans towards one direction or the other. So this is such a powerful force that when the moon is there, it moves us completely. So if you don't set your mind, your heart, and your intention and your action according to what is happening with the moon in that moment, so you are losing the potential that power has on you. So instead of using the power, you are used by the power. So it's like, I won't move, but the moon comes and gives you a slap, and you have to move anyway, but you will be like a slave of their gravity instead of using the gravity.
Bars. Bro, that's bars. Because that's really what happens. It really is. You either acknowledge, learn, and use the power, or the power is going to be used against you. Because it's going to happen anyways. It seems just like a good idea to have an understanding and go with the flow instead of react to what the flow does. You know?
So we lost the power when they said that God was invisible. So you cannot see it, so you cannot use it.
Sorry, got to stop it again. We lost the power when they told us that God is invisible.
And don't follow the sun, don't follow the moon, don't follow the stars, because that's pagan. So that created a disconnection from the reality that took the power that we have in order to manifest or create or do anything. And that loss of connectivity with something very simple, which is knowing which hour it is, where the sun sets, where it rises, that gives us the power of God. That gives us the power of creation. And to pay attention to these calendars and knowing how to use it, you will realize, as I said before, there is no specific way or unique way to use a calendar. We have to find our own.
Isn't that so true? Dude, take away everything he's just talking about, bro. There is no specific way. You have to do it on your own. You know, some people use tarot cards. Some people journal. Some people, you know, they have all sorts of different rituals or practices that they use to harness energy and intention. There's no correct way to do it at all. Just got to do it and have intention. And when you have that intention, make sure you direct all of your attention at your intention.
Have to find our own way to use it according to in which latitude and longitude we are in the planet. And according to that, you can kind of be in a tribe of creation. That's why cultures were created, because of basically that, because of basically saying, okay, we got together and we will all celebrate specifically one day that put us all together, because it's more powerful to use the gravity of the movement of the stars and the planet if we are all together, because only one person cannot have that power. You need a group of people to create more magnetism, so it creates more power. So that's why the tribes, the cultures were created around that idea. And we call these gatherings ceremonies. I don't know if you know, but ceremonies comes from the word cereal, which means cereal. So every time that we do a ceremony is basically because we want to share cereals, because we were harvesting or sowing. So what we did when we got together was sharing food. So we were doing a ceremony, which is to put all the seeds together as one. Ceremony. Cereal monos. So it's one cereal for all of us. Mainly is that. So a ceremony basically would be sharing food, and dance because we are sharing, and pray because we want more cereals. So,
What was your favorite cereal growing up, Matthias?
in this life,
Yeah. Nobody's going to know your cereals from
That's a weird
9,000
question,
years
really.
ago. Yeah. What was your favorite cereal?
I don't know. In Argentina, we don't have that many.
You know, well,
Here in the supermarket, it's like,
Raisin
what the
Bran.
fuck are you doing?
But you didn't have like a Raisin Bran or like a Fruit Loops or like a.
Yeah, but I think I didn't.
You didn't like any cereals.
No, just bread.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Honey Bunches of Oats.
All right, then I got to ask too. What's your favorite cereal, bro? You guys be fucking up cereals? I need to see some of y'all guys' favorite cereals before I say mine. Because mine's not the answer you probably expect. You probably don't expect it. I'll give you top three, because I can't really rate them better than everybody and on top of each other, because I like them all. All right. Ready to go. Cereal. Either now or in the comments later. I like, Cinnamon Life. That's a goat. I like the Honey Bunches of Oats that has the yogurt clusters. And I like, it's a tie. Because I do fuck up Raisin Bran. I like grain type cereals because I don't like to eat fucking tons and tons of sugar and like weird dyes and stuff. When I was a kid, it was Fruity Pebbles, bro. It was Fruity Pebbles as a kid. I'll fuck up a whole bowl of Fruity Pebbles. Saturday morning, use my mom's salad bowl for Fruity Pebbles, dude.
Those were pretty good. Our whole cereal story, this is a completely unimportant thing. Our whole cereal story is also completely wild and fucked up when you actually study like Kellogg and what he was actually trying to do. And he was trying to create foods that would actually drop people out of their eros, right? So because he had this war against sexuality and was doing all kinds of weird fucking things like giving young men enemas and trying to create cereals that would make them impotent in the thing. Like the whole history of our cereal is fucked.
Fact check. I know this to be true. But I just wanted to fact check for all of you guys. Is it true that Kellogg, the creator of Kellogg's, at one point had what people say potentially a war on sexuality and tried to create cereals, one, to replace the healthy foods that we should eat for breakfast if we eat breakfast, but also to basically chemically give a vasectomy to the men so that they wouldn't reproduce?
John Harvey Kellogg, the co-creator of Kellogg cereals, held strong beliefs about sexual abstinence and thought that masturbation and sexual activity could harm physical and mental health. He advocated for bland diets, believing that foods like cornflakes would reduce sexual urges. However, the claim that he intended cereal
up. And then, of course, all of the corn syrup and everything else that's leading to all of this obesity that we see, childhood obesity, all of this thing, like cereals, the way that we've corrupted even that. And, you know, going back to the ancient roots, Ceres, the goddess of the grain, of the harvest. And now we have cereal, which is this completely degraded form that was actually manipulated to be degraded. Cornflakes were designed to actually sap a person's eros. And this whole thing, like, so you trace all of these different things and you see how far off course we've actually gotten from, you know, from the days to the months to the disconnection with all of the power that's available.
So, question: Are we observing reality as it is at this specific time? Because all the way back to the calendar, they destroyed and took away our power that we were able to harness based off of everything astrological around us, the sun, the moon, and the stars. That there is specific powers that's harnessed during certain moon phases. There is specific powers when certain constellations are moving across our sky. That they have removed our divinity, what potentially the cultures that were so in tune with energy and vibration in their spirit and soul were able to build the pyramids and have this complex understanding of astrology before there was ever even satellites, that they didn't want humans to be like that anymore. They didn't want humans to be able to have their own inner power, their own ability to harness specific energies about the universe and the 3D fractal light matrix that we live in to be able to become the best human possible. And just like I'm pretty sure someone said in the comments about living forever, I mean, that's why all of our historic people from like scripture to, Moses and Noah and all these people lived for hundreds and hundreds of years. I truly believe it was because potentially they had an understanding of how this energetic field we live in actually works alongside the earth that we live on, that we are a part of, not separate from, as well as the stars, the sun, and the moon. Can I get some poop emojis in the chat if you resonate?
In the cosmos. So now is the time to start to reclaim sacred calendar, to start to pay attention to what has been done so we can undo what has been done to create a new story and new holidays too. I mean, the commodification of Christmas, which then took the place of this, Saturnalia, this Bacchanalia, that was this wild orgiastic end of the year, celebration, and how that's been commodified and then manipulated. It's an invitation that's right there waiting for us to reclaim ritual, calendar, ceremony, all the way down to our food, all the way down to how we gather, all the way down to, reconnecting us to a remembrance of how powerful we actually are. And that's what, I think is the invitation for now, especially when we can look out at the world and feel wildly disempowered. Well, the world has been intentionally making us wildly disempowered. So how do we get back into our power? And that's... Please put your answer in the chat or in the comments. How do we get back to our power? This is going to be a little bit longer of an explanation because I'm going to give you my interpretation of how do we get back to our power. I really think the first thing is awareness. Because at a certain level of awareness, once the awareness starts, there has to be inevitably the next step is interest, which interest would inspire you to question and to learn, which then leads to understanding and realization, which then just feeds the interest and the desire to learn because you are understood and you're having realizations about things that are happening within you. It all starts with awareness, but you can't really truly be aware unless you are present. You have to be able to actually enter the present moment for long periods of time to then be aware of what happens during those moments of presence. Because our minds, I feel tremendously, for majority of people, even me, struggle with trying to predict the future or reliving the past. Always super critical amongst and towards ourselves because we worry about and replay the past, or we stress and have anxiety about futures we've created inside of our own imagination. And sometimes those futures that we've created try to predict and then also control what happens. We lose our ability to really sit in the present moment and actually be here, present, aware, awake, receptive. Maybe that's why I preach so much about, breath work and just paying attention and being aware and grounding, and it's because I truly believe that's where it all starts. It doesn't start with you going down a rabbit hole to find out that Jeffrey Epstein worked for Mossad, allegedly. It doesn't start by
always putting off everything you tell yourself that you're going to do on Monday or you're going to do next week. And then when it comes next week, you find another excuse to put it off, but promise yourself again, and then break a promise to yourself repeatedly over and over and over again. So of course you don't trust yourself. You just have to start paying attention. Return to the breath. We have this thing that our bodies just automatically breathe. If you don't think about it, your body just breathes because that's what's necessary to survive. If you stop breathing, the very first thing you lose isn't your heartbeat. It's not the signal in your brain. It's consciousness. Your brain can still function and your heart can still beat when you're unconscious. So what are you actually breathing? Is this air or is this consciousness? And you understand this connection to consciousness on such a deeper level if you've done any sort of breath work. It's the most profound experience you can induce onto your own conscious self is to do breath work, like specifically like DMT secreting breath work, where it activates your pineal gland, and you potentially during these breathwork experiences can have a full-fledged psychedelic dimethyltryptamine breakthrough just from breathing. It's because we're breathing in consciousness. We have just taken away the power of what that actually is, just like he was talking about with the calendars and the days and the moon cycles and all of these things. They completely re-represent what we are actually breathing. We need it to live. Realistically, the ability to breathe is like really the last commodity that hasn't been monopolized. They've monopolized air in other ways. They've monopolized water. Seems as if that's all the way back down to calendar. That's what they want, is your fucking money. That's why everything is a subscription nowadays. That's why everything costs so much more. It's because it's all to take away your power, because we've been brainwashed to believe that we have to have the biggest number in our account before we move on to the next phase of existence. It's like immediately when you're born, you watch all the other humans just do whatever it takes because they're fighting for the same game that's been programmed into everyone, that your life and how happy you can be and your worth and what you leave behind and your legacy is all determined on how many coins you get in this fucking place. Who has the most money? Billionaires, trillionaires. You know?
The second part of this conversation is, all right, now let's pay attention to the real calendar. Let's pay attention to the real use, and then reclaim holidays, reclaim sacred time, and put it back on our time.
Do you know what's something that me and my wife did? You know what's something that I have done for myself? Is I have decided what, when, how, and why I celebrate any sort of holiday. They're all based off of profits. That's why the biggest holidays allegedly all come quarterly. Every 3 months, there's a big holiday where everyone is promoting the holiday. It's the freaking 4th of July, fucking Labor Day, Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, Valentine's Day. There are all these holidays that seem to be that the whole entire matrix decides that they are going to tell us that it's time to buy things and go hang out with your friends or give the gifts to people. What the fuck? So to be honest with this winter solstice stuff, I don't no longer celebrate Christmas. Sure, we do put up Christmas tree. We do actually do 12 days of presents, just like he was talking about. Kind of a mix of Yule and like winter solstice, removed the Christian aspect out of it and actually just like celebrate the time and have a feast and do rituals of reflection and refinement. Really every day trying to do something different during that period of time, just like when he was talking about. because I no longer am going to allow the Matrix to tell me when it's time to celebrate, when I have to give people gifts, when I have to show the one person I say I love that I love them. Valentine's Day, why do I have to fucking buy something for my wife on Valentine's Day if she knows in her heart without a shadow of a doubt that I love her every day? Because I take her and do things nice for her. I take her on dates. I appreciate her. I show her that she means something to me, because love is a verb. It's not a noun. Love is something you do. You do things that is love. It's not an adjective. It's not how you describe something. It's an action word. You have to physically do or sacrifice something within yourself for love to even be love. And both are necessary. You have to give love, and then you have to sacrifice for love. Do you resonate with that?
We can have the power back and take the power back from empire. If we don't take the power back from empire, empire is going to continue to wield power in the horrific ways that we see every day, in the horrific ways that we don't see, the insidious ways that it's just subtly taking us further and further from our natural innate potency.
Yeah, it's basically in history, whoever controlled the cereals controlled the ceremonies. And that's why when there was an administrator of agriculture and someone that controlled everything, all the seats that we had, so they said how the ceremony would work. And they started to create monotheisms. They started to say the right way to do a ritual. And this took the power of the people and gave it to just a few people that actually administrated the agriculture, which were the feuds, the kings, the ones that were owners of the power of food. And that's what took the power from everyone.
It's really interesting to hear it that way. Once they took control and power over the food, that's how they could determine how you were able to celebrate these ceremonies based off of the food that they allowed you to grow or that you could afford to grow. It's interesting. Because in all actuality, my spiritual practices could look completely different than your spiritual practices, and not at all mean that yours aren't more powerful than mine. Even though I perceive mine to be powerful and I'm consistently working on them, you might be doing the same thing, but completely different things. There is no rules to ritual. Because why? Where your attention goes, energy flows. Not where my attention goes, energy flows for you. If we're entangled with superposition, absolutely. The potential of collective healing and all of that stuff is 100% real. But nobody has more power over your particles than you. Nobody has more power over the particles of your lived experience than you, because your attention changes everything. Like I said it many, many times, keep your attention on your intention. If you've been down this spiritual path and you're not someone who is potentially just learning these phrases, the word intention carries a lot of weight, specifically when you talk about what you want and how you want things to go and how the things you're trying to manifest and attract to you. Your intention is your vibration, because your intention doesn't come from your words. It doesn't come from your thoughts. Your intention comes from your soul, bro. Like your being, all the life force. That's why when you align and are coherent with the intention you have inside of yourself that aligns with your divine purpose, the reason why you came here, That's why you're so magnetized towards it. That's why you could probably overwork yourself and never rest and just keep going and keep grinding and just keep doing it, because you are aligned and coherent with what your intention and your purpose are. You are divine, bro. The Matrix has been structured specifically to take away your power, bro. Your power. And there's no one else's power that's as powerful and as potent as your power. And they can all collectively all exist. And there's never ever a comparison, because of the ways and the hermetic principles of polarity. They're just different spectrums. It's all on the same spectrum. It's all the same thing at different degrees. Different degrees and dimensions, because we all perceive everything differently. Perception is subjective. Every single person heard me throughout this whole live stream say the same exact words, but everyone perceived it different. Everyone heard specific words, frequencies, and vibes differently based off of your energetic and spiritual blueprint. But what do I know? I'm just some weird ass hippie that lives in Utah, bro.
And I mean, and think about that now. Think about, like, all right, we understand these fiefdoms and these serfdoms where rulers, put people to work. I mean, think of any Robin Hood story. They're just driving people from...
Real quick, we are close to that time. So if you're on any of these other platforms, make sure you head over to Kick. You got 5 minutes to get over to Kick before I'm going to shut down Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. We're going to chill and decompress on Kick. I hope to see you there. Please, if you do come over to Kick, you just put something in the comments, chat something, just so I'm trying to get 100 individual people to comment something in 30 days. If you see me, I'm out here grinding, comment something that's completely free, bro. Make sure that if you're seeing this video later on YouTube, because if you ever miss a live stream, the live stream will be deleted off of YouTube, but a standalone YouTube video of the whole stream in its entirety with a cool thumbnail and all that shit, that will be posted on the YouTube. So make sure you hit the like, subscribe button to the video. I appreciate you if you see it. Let's just keep going for about this 5 more minutes and finish out these two gentlemen, Aubrey Marcus and Matthias De Stefano's last little thought, and then we'll be on Kick.
More grain and more taxes and all of that. We say, yes, look, we've evolved so much from those days of, serfdom, and the days where the rulers controlled people, conscripted them to battle, taxed them, would kill them if they didn't. And then now look at what Monsanto does. Controls all the seeds, modifies them, puts people in debt, forces them to use their particular brand of seeds, and all of the corruption. That's just another enforced serfdom upon so many people in the world, including, farmers in our own country. So these patterns have just changed their name. Instead of a king or a lord, and instead of your vassals or your serfs, it's now corporations like Monsanto, and then it's still call them farmers, but the farmers are beholden to their feudal lord, the Lord Monsanto. And that's not the fucking Lord that we want controlling our food, which gives us our life force energy, our vital life force energy. And even the way that we've then, and again, this is another kind of stretch, but if you look at the Rosicrucian model, there's this idea that comes from Ahriman, and Ahriman is this force that wants to quantify everything. So it wants to just measure everything, and everything is equivalent once it's quantified. So you just measure carbohydrate, fat, protein, you measure all of these different things, you break it all down. And so much of our diet and nutrition is based upon this Ahrimanic materialist reductionist of what you're having. And so some people still say, you'll still see people say, a calorie is just a calorie. No, it's fucking not. It's not. It's not the same. A calorie from an avocado is not the same as a calorie from a cornflake. It's just not. Right? But we've tried to reduce everything.